See mini golf. TM and copyright us. You can't steal it. That's our idea. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, can we finally, for once, just fucking talk about elephants?
You mean the one in the room?
No, although you and I will have to discuss that after the show. I mean, real, honest-to-God pachyderms, Jeff. Can we please, just for once, talk about elephants?
Have we? How long has it been since we've talked about an elephant? Have we talked about an elephant on the show? We've talked about elephants on the show.
We've talked about mammoths. I don't know that we've ever spoken about elephants. I'm sure one of the concerned citizens is sitting at home screaming at us right now, letting us know how many times we've talked about elephants.
Well,
but I'm not an elephant. I forget shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's rectify that. Let's talk about some elephants, dude. What are elephants up to lately?
God, what are elephants not up to lately? What's your feeling on elephants, first of all? Let me vibe check you on elephants.
Okay, if we're gonna just sort of free associate with elephants, I will say
vibe check.
I think they are beautiful, intelligent animals that almost always are being completely ruined, destroyed, taken advantage of by human beings. Like almost any,
you're in exactly the right space.
Yeah, almost any point at which I see a real life elephant in my life, it is because they are being misused, maltreated in some pernicious way.
You ever seen one in person?
Yeah. I've been to zoos, bro.
Like at the zoo.
I've been to circuses. Circipodes,
is I believe what they're.
Circopod.
Yeah, I went to. I also went to a circus when I was a youth. I didn't know any better. But every time I have seen elephants, I get the same vibe. They seem majestic and gentle and intelligent. And look, I hate horse.
Yeah, the basketball game.
Yeah, also animal.
Oh yeah, you hate horse. Yeah,
I hate horse. They're too big. Like they're bigger than you think of horse, and then you see horse in person, and it's like, oh, that's bigger than I thought you were gonna be. You're too big, and they're just too muscular and veiny.
Yeah,
and their eyes are the size of baby fists. And they're entirely
but also beautiful, majestic animals,
No, they're killers. I can see it in their eyes. A horse killed Superman, Jeff. Remember that. Always remember that a horse killed Superman.
All right.
I don't like... So horses I'm terrified of. But what I'm saying is I'm terrified of a horse. But when I see an elephant, I don't feel that fear.
Oh, I see. Why is that? An elephant could trample you easy as eating a peanut.
He won't. Elephant won't. Nah, I could see it in the elephant eyes.
You spook them? What if you spook them?
Can't spook an elephant. I would never spook an elephant.
Easy as
I appreciate your vote of confidence, but I don't.
Listen,
I don't know that I could.
Anthony, you sell yourself short.
Come on. I feel like I could spook a horse at any moment. Even when I'm around a horse and the horse sees me and I see the horse and we have eye contact, I feel like I'm going to do something and this horse is going to fucking freak out. This horse is going to lose its mind.
But your first thing you said about a horse is that it's too big, and yet
it's too big.
Elephant, way bigger. Way bigger.
Well, because when I picture elephant, I picture how big an elephant is, and then I see an elephant in person, I go, oh, that's a little smaller than I thought.
Oh, I see. The reputation of elephant
precedes
it. It overpromised and underdelivered.
I mean, I don't want to say that about elephants because I love them, but I think perhaps the way they are portrayed versus the way they are when you see them, they're a little smaller than I thought. That's all.
They're big though. They're big.
Dude, they're huge. Are you kidding me? I don't mean to. I'm not denigrating elephants here.
Yeah. I don't want to get off too far on a tangent here, but
please.
You said something that triggered something in my head when you said you see a horse. I was thinking of a seahorse, right?
Yeah.
Do you imagine the first dude that saw a seahorse? Like how fucking mind blowing that is, because they'd clearly seen horses a lot, right? So horses were like integrated into human life before anyone saw a seahorse, or else they wouldn't have called it a seahorse, right?
Yeah.
They see this thing and they're like, holy fuck, there's a horse, but its bottom half is like it just swims in the... It's a fucking, like, how mind blowing must that have been? They're tiny. You
should have seen
in the water.
You should have seen me the first time I saw a fucking seahorse when I was a kid. I lost my goddamn mind. Yeah. Not just the first time I saw him in video, but then the first time I saw a seahorse in person, like in an aquarium, I lost my mind all over again. And I knew I was going to see a seahorse. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I was going to see a seahorse. And then I saw one in person and I was like, how?
I mean, a seahorse is as close to like a fantasy Dungeons and Dragons creature as we get. It's like somebody just went, what if this plus that?
Yeah.
You know?
Listen, the ocean, when people talk about the ocean and sailors have like all these weird things where it's like, we know that like this magical creature and this magical creature. I'm like, of course they thought that. Of course they thought that. There's weird shit in the ocean. You go down and listen, the next time you talk to James Cameron, that fucker, you have him take you down in his little submersible like he did on that IMAX movie. And let me tell you something. He found some shit, dude.
Oh, there's stuff down there to find. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When one pirate turns to another and goes, "Yar, there be women with fish as a body parts," and you go, "No way!" And he goes, "You seen a seahorse?" And you go, "Well, you know what? I gotta hand it to you. If that's possible, dude? Probably. You're probably right."
My mistake.
Pirate. Yeah,
my mistake. I wouldn't have known about a seahorse if it wasn't for you. So yeah, okay. I feel like the first person to see it. I feel like going into anything without any information is the history of humankind, and is full of just so many fucking moments like that. Even today, whenever I see an animal that I haven't seen before and I see it in person, even if I have academic knowledge of the animal beforehand, I just look at it and I'm like, how?
Of course. But I feel like in this case, the name of the thing is so telling as to how that must have gone down, right? Yeah. They call it a seahorse because, like, there's no other fucking explanation.
There's no other explanation.
It's head of seahorse.
Head of horse, body of sea. There's no other explanation. Hey, everybody, the sea is weird. Go support, like, now that the athlete's foot is clearing up and everybody's had their Tinactin. Once you have your Tinactin, go support your city's... Go support your city's aquarium if you have one, because they're just absolutely magical places.
Anyway, elephants.
But fuck the sea.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that. Fuck the sea. The sea's garbage. I don't want to talk about the sea anymore.
All right, fair enough.
Support your local aquariums, but don't ever fucking talk to me about the ocean. I want to talk about elephants.
What are they up to?
And I want to talk about how elephants eat and drink and just do
human blood.
No, that's a horse, my dude.
Oh,
if that's going to be any animal, that's going to be the horse. That horse is going to kick me in the face and then drink my blood. An elephant will probably teach me something. They're so wise. I want to talk about the physics of elephant trunks. When I think about elephants, there's a wobbly line in my brain between real elephant and cartoon elephant.
Right.
In terms of trunk manipulation.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know what's real and what's not.
But they do that thing in real life where they walk in a line and the one behind holds the tail of the one ahead of it with its trunk, right? They do that. That's not a cartoon.
They do. Don't get lost, buddy system. Everybody remember where we parked.
That's adorable.
It's super adorable.
Is there anything more adorable than that? No.
No. And not just that, they do the thing where they can they can flex the front of their trunk and grab something. Yeah. They can wrap their trunk around something to grab it. But I'm just like, what's real and what's not? What can they do with these trunks? And you know what, Jeff?
What?
Turns out for a very long time, literally until like last week, we weren't exactly sure.
Nobody took the time to even figure it out?
Well, no, not really. Not in a scientific way where they studied it. Because here's the thing. Elephants have to eat constantly for about 18 hours a day, the whole time they're awake, basically. They're large animals and they require an intense amount of energy just to keep moving.
That's because it takes a long time to eat peanuts. You know, you got to crack them open. And
you got to crack each peanut open and then do the little
consuming
dance for the peanut. Get on a tiny beach ball and walk around. See, I don't know what's real and what's not, Jeff. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's clear.
But it turns out So we know they can actually like bathe themselves. You've seen that where they use that like a hose.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the coolest parts of the trunk.
That's the coolest part of the trunk. And they can also drink through it if they need to. They can like stick it in water and use it like a crazy straw.
I like it when they grab stuff with it and then put it in their own mouth. You know, that's fun. It's like a
one
cute
of those
little
grabby, like one of those grabby hands you used to win at the arcade.
Totally.
So these scientists at Georgia Tech were like, yo, what else are they doing with this? How are they eating efficiently? Yeah. What are they doing for 18 hours? Turns out, Jeff, that's not just a straw. That's also a food vacuum.
What? Like an anteater?
Yeah, a bit like an anteater. So here's what's up. And not only is it a food vacuum, it is a surprisingly controllable and sensitive one.
How did we not know this for the hundreds of years that we've been abusing elephants in captivity?
Because we've been mostly abusing them, but and not really listening. So we kind of knew this, but like they wanted to know the ins and outs of it. Like you and I didn't know that,
right? I didn't know that, but I also haven't been abusing an elephant.
No,
lately,
and I never would. If I had an elephant friend, listen. If anybody out there, if anybody's listening that can make this happen, I want you to know that if I had an elephant, I would treat my elephant. It would be so well treated, and I would love it so much, and I would take care of it every day, and I would give it all the peanuts and little tiny beach balls that it wanted. Okay. Yeah. And I would never let it near a mouse. I would never let a single mouse near my elephant.
Is that a real thing? That's a cartoon thing.
That's a cartoon thing for sure. Because it's funny to see a giant elephant afraid of a tiny mouse.
That's all that it is a size gag. There's no basis in reality of like a mouse scared an elephant one time and it turned into folklore. No?
Nah, I don't know. Not that I've seen. Could be.
Can we get these scientists on that?
Yeah, let's get these. Let's have them do the real work instead of this bullshit work, please.
Let's introduce some mice to elephants and see what happens, please. Record it.
So, how are they using these trunks to eat? What are they using these trunks for? First of all, let me tell you this, Jeff. They found out that these elephants can dilate their nostrils to create 67% more space in their trunks internally.
Whoa. That's a lot.
That's a lot. That is a lot. So they can store up to 5.5 liters of water in their trunk at any time.
Do they breathe through the trunks?
They breathe through their trunks. They can also breathe through their mouth if they need to.
Yeah. Okay. So you can hold water in your trunk, breathe through your mouth, and carry it around.
Walk on a tiny beach ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's I'm just laying out basics for you here. So they can suck up 3 liters per second.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a speed 30 times faster than a human sneeze. 330 miles per hour is the speed at which an elephant can suck things up into its trunk. That's faster than a bullet train.
Wow. We got to harness this trunk technology.
They have got powerful lungs. They have got a powerful trunk. See, they eat about 400 pounds of food a day, Jeff.
Wow.
And how are they getting all this food? That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
And so they were like, how are they using this system to eat? When do they use it and in what way? So what they did is they first they chopped up a bunch of like large rutabaga cubes and put them down in front of the elephant. Okay.
Wait, I don't even know the answer to this question. Are elephants herbivores?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I've never seen an elephant hunt or kill or eat meat. So yeah, that's
why they're trustworthy.
Yeah.
I'll watch a horse eat flesh all day.
Yeah, it'll eat your flesh in a second.
I know it will. Will.
So they're using the trunks. They're picking leaves. They're eating berries and bushes and stuff.
Yeah.
Just constantly 400 pounds of it every day. That's crazy.
400 pounds. So they chopped up these large rutabaga cubes and they were like, what's the elephant going to do? What's the elephant going to do? With large cubes of food, the elephant did what we expected it to do. It reached down, it grabbed it with its trunk, put it in its mouth. It was super adorable. Then they mixed up large and small cubes. Mm-hmm. And when it sucked up the smaller cubes, making a loud vacuuming sound, like the sound of a person slurping noodles up through its nose, down into its mouth.
Amazing.
I knew a kid at summer camp who would do that, who would suck a noodle up in his nose and then cough it out down into his mouth. was really weird. Did you ever know a kid like that?
Did he keep it
He
out
would do
on
the
both sides?
floss. He would do the floss. Yeah.
That's disgusting. No, I've never seen that in person. But you're saying that what you just said is that elephants snort their food.
They snort
like fucking
their
coke
food
addicts
at extremely high pressures and speeds.
They're food snorters.
They're food snorters. But Jeff, here's where things get super interesting.
Yeah.
Lay out some tortilla chips for an
always
elephant.
I always
whenever
do.
Whenever I have an elephant over, I try to at least put out some tortilla chips and salsa.
The worst is when an elephant drops in unannounced and you ran out of tortilla chips and salsa.
I've got nothing in my house. You know, I'm a single guy. I don't always plan on entertaining. I don't have finger foods on hand at all times.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's so frustrating. It's embarrassing, frankly, you know, because an elephant never going to forget that, you know.
Never. That's two. Elephant never forgets. Let's see how many we can get in. And can you remember? All you little elephants at home. They laid out tortilla chips for this elephant. Okay. The elephant is able to regulate the pressure of the suction to such an extent that it can place its trunk down near or on top of the tortilla chip and just use a tiny bit of suction to not even break the tortilla chip and then put it into its mouth. It can also...
What fucking experiments were these guys running? I love this.
Cool ones, fucking cool ass.
Cool ranch ones.
The elephant would only eat the nacho cheesier.
Really?
Yeah.
I would assume Cool Ranch would be totally up the elephant's nose.
I don't know. No? They have sensitive palates, I guess. So the elephant can also, because of the force with which it can suck stuff up, the suction force, it can also put its trunk a few inches up from the tortilla chip. Suck the tortilla chip up like one of those vending machines.
Yes. Or the old thing they used to have at the bank.
Yeah. It'll suck it up and just hold it and then move it to its mouth. Yeah.
Or those, they're like the ping pong ball thing where you get the ping pong ball and it just...
Yeah. It can draw the chip up to the edge of its trunk. Isn't that wild? It says... An elephant uses its trunk like a Swiss Army knife. It can detect scents and grab things from a distance. Other times, it can blow objects away like a leaf blower or sniff them in like a vacuum. It can also smell anything around it that would be undesirable.
Yeah.
And just blow it away from a distance without touching it.
I think what we've learned so far is that none of the cartoons have lied.
If anything, the cartoons have underestimated them.
Exactly. Yes.
If anything, we've underestimated the elephants. Now, when they saw the elephant, then they were like, okay, well, let's have it suck up some water.
Yeah, right. That's obviously.
When they had it inhale the liquid from the aquarium, like we said earlier, 1.5 seconds, 3.5 or over 3.5 liters, the equivalent of 20 toilets flushing simultaneously in 1.5 seconds. That's how much water the elephant sucked up at once. And they were like, that does not make sense because an elephant's nasal passage is pretty small. That's too much water. So they took ultrasonographic images of the elephant drinking and they were like, oh my God, it can contract its trunk's inner muscles, dilate its nostrils, and decrease the thickness of its nasal walls to expand its nasal volume by 65%. This
is something we just didn't know about before, huh? That we didn't know that elephants could do this?
We had no idea.
It's crazy how long that humans have lived alongside elephants and nobody bothered to look in their nose.
Can I tell you something? I think this is one of those things where it's just like, I think we all looked at it, we wondered, but nobody cared enough to follow through. Do you know what I mean?
Nobody cared enough to apply for the grant.
Yeah, nobody was like I saw it. I was like, man, I wonder how much water an elephant can drink. Looks like a lot. Better moving on to Monkey Town now. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, whatever. Yeah. I think that's what most people did. I don't think anybody was like, we got to fucking quantify this. until this team at Georgia Tech came along.
Isn't that
fucking
so
wild?
Interesting to me that this thing is so versatile, has so many apparent uses, and it would just logically seem to be very beneficial from an evolutionary standpoint, and yet so few mammals have something like this.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you expect it to be a little more widespread as such a useful appendage?
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, you mentioned the anteater, which is like one of the only things that I can think of. I mean, there are similar things, like I think those woodpeckers with the incredibly long tongues and like the curved beaks and things like that. Like I can think about things that are very specialized to an environment. But you're right. This seems like something that is very generally beneficial in many environments.
Yeah, you see so many creatures, both mammals and otherwise, that have, basically hands. You'd feel like if you have a creature that can use its trunk like this in so many interesting, potentially evolutionary beneficial ways, that it would be more widespread.
I want a trunk.
I want a trunk.
I would have a trunk and hands. I would be a heffalump.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
That would be rad. I'd be all over
I would
that.
do it.
I do tricks at parties.
Hell
I do
yeah.
that potato chip thing. I would love to snort my food.
My thing though is that I'm very prone to sinus infections, and I wonder if that would make it worse or better.
Well, but if you had some infection, perhaps you could just expand the area. Do you ever wear one of those Breathe Right strips?
Oh, all the time.
The principle behind the Breathe Right strip is it just like expands the cavity of your nose slightly, and then you can breathe when you've got mucus in there.
Yeah, and you just do that. You just do that at $20 a box for the rest of your life because you can't have the actual sleep apnea surgery in America.
Right.
And so we just all buy Breathe Right strips until we die.
But if you had the capability of the pachyderm, you could just expand or contract the muscles in your nose and expand the volume of the cavity. All of a sudden, you got your own Breathe Right strips.
Could be. I also wonder how the elephant filters, right? So like you're sucking up water and food, right?
Yeah.
You're sucking up these pieces of rutabaga. How do you get rid of all the other garbage that you suck up? If you suck up like little bits of rocks and stuff, do you just kind of feel them in your mouth as you chew and spit them out? They don't really get into that here.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't imagine that an elephant that plunks its trunk into, a pond or standing water anywhere is just going to get pure water, right? They'll get a bunch of garbage.
Oh, so much. And they don't have camp counselors to put little drops in their trunk.
No.
But you brought up an interesting point a little earlier that I wanted to touch on, which is you mentioned, we should be using this. And this is something that they are talked about too. They're like, look, by investigating the mechanics and the physics behind trunk muscle movements, we can apply the physical mechanisms, these combinations of suction and grasping and contraction and expansion, to find new ways to build robots and machineries. This could be used in soft robotics and conservation efforts.
Robo-trunks.
Robo-elephants, dude.
Yes, give me that robo-elephant. Give me that. There's got to be a better robo-fan. No.
Elabot.
Elabot. There you go. Elabot.
Give me an Elabot. That's what I want.
I want an Elabot.
I think this is so rad. I love when we kind of look at things like that. Like, what's the oleophobic coating on this water bug?
Yeah.
Can we put it in a paint? Oh, it turns out we can.
Yeah.
Can we make this in a lab? Oh shit, we can.
Right.
This is awesome. So I love the idea of creating this, it honestly sounds kind of like a Dr. Octopus tentacle.
I mean, even better in a lot of ways, because it's a Doc Ock tentacle if it was hollow inside and you could use it as a vacuum or a hose. Yeah,
but the idea of something that you can move around that delicately, expand and contract. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing.
You, Doc Ock. You don't want little fingers on the end of your tentacles. You want You want it to have a full, suction and propulsion capabilities. That would be amazing. And it would be, and the end is also sort of dexterous.
Elephants are cool, man.
Elephants are cool. Maybe you could get one if you weren't so busy abusing all those horses.
I'm not abusing a horse. I am simply being vigilant, Jeff. I would never abuse an animal, but I will watch them vigilantly when they plan on abusing me. I went to Iceland and a million years ago. Mm-hmm. And they have the Icelandic horses, these beautiful Icelandic horses people are always talking about. They're just gorgeous. If you look up
like
Icelandic
regular horses, they're like regular horses, but they sing like synth pop, right?
Yeah, they're all in bands, yeah. But Icelandic horses, if you look them up, they have manes that make them look like Scene Kids from 2006. Where they have like long bangs, and their faces are softer than regular horse faces. But like, let me tell you, and I was like, okay, Icelandic horses, and they run wild, dude. They run free. And I saw some Icelandic horses up close, and I was just like, no, even you have murder in your eyes.
Really?
I can tell.
You couldn't appreciate the beauty and majesty.
The person I was with at the time was like touching the nose and being like, oh, beautiful. Oh, aren't you sweet? Aren't you beautiful? I was like, it's going to bite that hand right off you. Those weird horse teeth. I'm going to murder you.
Yeah.
Elephants would never do that. Elephants are just a boon to science in the world.
I just saw a fun TikTok recently of a guy. I don't know where he was or how he got himself an elephant, but he had an elephant and he had a basketball hoop and he had that elephant like throw him into the air so that he could slam dunk the basketball in the basketball hoop.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was the coolest thing ever. He would throw him like 30 feet across the room in order to slam the ball into the hoop. It was the coolest thing. That's
amazing. Amazing. Elephants are so smart. Elephants are incredibly smart.
And there's no specific
they have the
rule
largest
that says
brain
you
of any
can't
land
have
animal
one on your basketball team.
Yeah, there's no rule that says an elephant can't play basketball. Did you know they have the largest brain of any land animal?
Really?
Yeah, they have three times as many neurons as we do.
Wow.
Think about that. It
probably takes a lot to control that trunk, frankly, right?
Well, that's part of it is like they have an incredibly large, they're incredibly large and they're very dexterous, not just in the trunk, but like all over their bodies. They're very dexterous, which is why I think they made such amazing kind of like circus animals and like war animals and stuff. Like, because not only are they huge, but like they're very trainable and they're very like, they can move very delicately. God damn, man. Elephants. Hey, let's just think about elephants for 5 seconds, you and me.
I keep seeing cartoon ones in my head.
It's fine. They're interchangeable.
Okay, cool.
That's something that we've learned. Well, is this science? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, sure it is. Of course.
There was a lot of science in there. You listen, I'm not gonna tell you learned a lot of stuff because I can't tell you that. No one can tell you that, but I hope you did. And if you learned even one thing,
you owe us.
Give us money. As you know, that this is an entirely free show. We don't run ads. We don't do anything like that. But we do ask, if you are enjoying the show, that you check out our Patreon at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns and consider contributing a little bit monthly to see the show continue.
Yeah, we don't run ads. We just beg. So consider this us begging you to check it out. You can get cool stuff. We're not going to just beg and then not give you anything in return. No. There's all kinds of cool stuff.
We would never give up our dignity for free. We'll also give you gifts.
Exactly. We will beg and also bribe.
Yes.
And if you go over to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, you'll find a number of different tiers with a number of different wonderful rewards, including our Discord, which is a bunch of great folks. It's a premium Discord. We only give it to the people that give us at least $1 a month, which means the coolest people are there.
Yeah, just like everything good in this world, it is gated by money, but just a tiny bit of money is the thing. And then once you get in there, the Discord is a discussion server where we talk about everything. We talk about episodes of the show. We talk about cool science news, but we've also got a place to talk about games and movies and bird pranks. There's a bird pranks channel that is so active.
So well, you got to be ever vigilant,
Jeff, I thought that we had created a bit, but we didn't. We tapped into something that's real in the world.
We created a movement.
It's one of those things where
a vital movement.
You know, the movie about, you know, that character in the movie, the hapless idiot who stumbles into a conspiracy.
That's us. We're two hapless idiots.
Two hapless idiots stumbling into a world of very real bird pranks. So if you want to see all that stuff, it's just $1 or more over at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
Anthony, I feel like since you talked about, you know, something that you've always loved and wanted to see in real life, I am also going to talk about something that I've always loved and wanted to see in real life and have yet to see in real life, but it's on, you know, it's on
Wicked
my bucket list.
Broadway?
Yeah.
It's Wicked on Broadway. Because you're always talking about Wicked on Broadway.
Oh.
You're always talking about Idina Menzel.
I want to be popular.
And I'm just like, Kristen Chenoweth hasn't been in that show for like years, dude, and you won't listen.
You know what?
You won't listen.
You can't stop a guy from dreaming.
No. Maybe Jeff has often said to me, what if the night that I go is the one night where Chenoweth is like, you know what? I'm feeling crazy. I miss it. One night only.
You can't tell me that won't happen. You don't know.
She calls up Idina and she goes, should we just do it? Just hilarious. Just to do it?
Yeah.
You know?
Why not? It could happen. I'm holding my breath. But another thing that I've always wanted to see in person is the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis.
Oh, man. Me too. Can I tell you? So that time I was in Iceland, I was like, fuck yeah, Northern Lights. And it was one of the weeks of the year that the Northern Lights were they're just not visible all the time.
You never know, right? You just never know. There's no way to predict them. You have to get lucky. You have to just be there at the right time. My dude,
imagine how much I lose my shit at a seahorse. Now picture me staring at the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you even believe?
I've always wanted to see it. Someday I hope to go and get lucky enough to see it. And I'm fascinated by it. And so has science been fascinated by the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, or any aurora, frankly. And the truth is, there have been some prevalent theories as to what causes the phenomenon that we call the aurora, but there hasn't been any solid proof. It's the Bifrost. Yeah, it's the
Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah, it's Thor moving between dimensions.
Yeah.
If you catch him at just the right moment, you'll hear him say something in a British accent.
Yeah, something. That's a, you know, Thor's old.
Like, what's a Thor catchphrase?
You know Thor's catchphrase.
Mjolnir's buy Mjolnir's hammer. I don't know.
That's what he says.
No, there has been no proof as to, what it is or what's happening. There's been some prevalent theories, but now, just last week, a new study led by folks at the University of Iowa, physicists there, has finally proven what causes auroras like the Aurora Borealis. And it turns out that it is exactly what we thought. It's exactly what we
It was the Bifrost. It was Idris Elba. And then later, Carl Urban.
It was hard to get Thor to come to Iowa, but he did. It turns out that there was a theory in 1946 by a Russian physicist by the name of Lev Landau. And his theory was called Landau damping. And now his theory has been proven. So what is it? Basically, the idea is that there is a powerful electromagnetic wave that is produced during geomagnetic storms in space that causes the phenomenon that creates the light in the sky. And what happens is there are these things called Alfvén waves, named after, of course, the 1980s puppet that ate cats.
Named after Gordon Shumway. I kill me.
And Alfvén waves are basically low frequency ions that are oscillating, creating a magnetic field that is all moving the same direction.
Okay.
So basically it creates kind of what they call it is a wave that can be surfed by electrons. Because this wave is all going the same direction and is constantly pushing things through space, pushing electrons through space. Okay. And it keeps pushing them faster and faster and faster and faster that the electrons reach such an incredible speed that they actually create this phenomenon in the sky. These things go so fast that they travel up to speeds of 45 million miles per hour.
Whoa.
Yeah. Riding on alpha waves, electrons.
Wait, so how far away are the northern lights? That's fast.
Well, they're happening in space, right? They're happening basically, in space. And what we've tried to do to measure this, to understand it, is to take measurements in space using spacecraft that are between us and the sun. Because basically, what you're actually seeing is the deceleration of nitrogen and oxygen molecules that are happening in space, but they're kind of happening between Earth and the sun. So any spacecraft that we put up that's between Earth and the sun, we've tried to measure this stuff. It's fraught with difficulty, very, very difficult to get usable data on this in space.
Oh, I bet. It's something that's moving that quickly and has to move through a very specific. It can't just be moving that quickly. It has to be moving that quickly and within the range of our instruments, and they have to pick it up when it's happening. That's wild.
Yes. So that's why this theory, though everyone agreed that it's probably what's going on, had never been proven until now. And what happened was these physicists at the University of Iowa created the phenomenon in a lab, which no one had ever done before, or created something similar to it, a small percentage of it that proves the math, basically, can be extrapolated into the scale that would cause the Aurora Borealis. So what they did was they used this thing that is at UCLA. It's called the Large Plasma Device, which I love scientists and their names for it's called the LPD.
Can you be more specific? No.
The Large Plasma Device.
No. I'm sort of a medium plasma device if you think about it.
You are kind of. The where the Large Plasma Device is located is at UCLA's Basic Plasma Science Facility.
Not the advanced one?
No, it's the basic Plasma Science Facility. Where the Large Plasma Device is. It's just so beautiful how scientists are like, no, that's what it is.
Where's the largest plasma device? Is that in the advanced lab?
Probably.
I know they have the large lab. I mean, I know they have the large device, but who's got the largest device?
It's not about the size of the device. It's how you use it. I've told you this before.
That's fair.
So this is a 20-meter long chamber that basically attempts to recreate the magnetic field of Earth using these big, giant magnetic field coils.
Wow.
So inside this chamber, inside this big 20-meter long chamber, they can generate plasma similar to what exists in space near the Earth.
How far away do you think you got to leave your keys?
Probably very far. And your phone? Oh, man.
Yeah. You just got to put all that.
You got to leave them in UCLA's basic phone storage container.
I just imagine if you're working a late night on the Large Plasma Device, and you can't have any of your cool shit with you.
No, yeah, that's got to be
a lot of Sudoku, I would imagine.
Tons of Sudoku. It's like it's Sudoku capital of UCLA right there.
That's what it is.
Anyway, so they get this plasma inside this crazy magnetic field, and then they launch alpha waves down the machine. And this is a fun quote. It says, quote, much like shaking a garden hose up and down quickly and watching the wave travel along the hose.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like that. That's how you create the alpha wave, is that you want the ions to move in that wave pattern. So you're just like shaking the hose, basically.
Wow. Okay.
And that allows these electrons to surf down this wave in this 20-meter long magnetic field in the same way that they do in the Earth's magnetic field for miles and miles and miles above the Earth.
Huh.
And they watched it gain energy from the wave and were able to use this specialized instrument to measure the energy that they gain and the speed and velocity that it gets. And they watched it just constantly accelerate. It never slows down. It just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. And so,
wow.
The disappointing part is because it's only a 20 meter long generator plasma field. They weren't actually able to recreate the lights themselves. You don't get the actual, Aurora Borealis happening inside this lab.
No, you think about something moving at hundreds of millions of miles a second or whatever, and you got 60 meters or 20 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't going to be it.
Yeah. And also the lights are only generated from the slowing process. So you need
when they hit those particles in the atmosphere. Yeah.
Yes. And they need tons of extra space to start slowing down to create the light to sort of become luminescent.
This sounds like a bunch of kids who are like in an above ground pool and they're all swimming in a circle in the same direction trying to start a whirlpool.
Yes, totally.
You know what I mean? It's just like let's see if we can do it. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you have enough stuff and I don't think you have enough force and I don't think this pool is big enough. Yeah, but let's just do it for like 5 minutes and I think I can feel it.
Yeah. I've done that. I've been in a tiny little spa and when I was a kid, we loved that. In the spa, we'd go in a circle and then you try to sit and it pushes you over because the water's still going.
Yeah. You see how long you've been swimming in a circle for 18 minutes. And when you stop, it's like 4 seconds of force and you're like,
so worth it. We did it.
We did it. So that's what they're doing here.
Yeah. So they describe this as being an extremely difficult experiment to pull off, but they managed to get hard data that proves the math. And I think this is one of those things we've talked about a number of times on the show where it's so cool, where a dude 80 years ago almost wrote a thing down on a piece of paper with an equation and went, that kind of explains it. It should work. And
that's probably
80 years later, somebody went, yeah, no, it adds up. We actually did. It took that long for us to be able to do the experiment. But, the theory, just the math, just the equation of it proved right. I love that.
Wow. Yeah, I love it. That's like the guy who had in like the 1700s who had he had owls and bats in a barn. and when he turned off the light in the barn, the bats kept flying around and the owls didn't. And so he was like, what I need now is a bunch of tiny little bat blindfolds. And so he made a bunch of bat blindfolds and he put them on. He's like, they're still flying around. and nobody thought about it for like 100 years after. And they were like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I love this. This is the same shit where some guy's like, oh, well, here's the way it's happening. Anyway, Good night. And everybody's like, good night. And then nobody did anything about it for like 70 years.
Yeah. Nobody built the large plasma device for that long. And it's cool because this actually has applications for a whole bunch of stuff. It's not just explaining something beautiful, although it does do that too. They're talking about this as being, since we've now basically proven that this theory of how space weather works is that we may be able to have space weathermen and women predict space weather. You'd be able to predict geomagnetic storms and how strong they might be. And that actually could be very relevant for, putting stuff up into space and space travel itself, or even just satellites and stuff like that. It's extremely useful to be able to have an accurate predictor of when geomagnetic storms might happen and how strong they might be.
Huh. What does that do for us?
Well, it says you could potentially avoid, damage to stuff we put into space that way, or we may be able to actually take advantage of these kinds of things to, nobody really knows what we might be able to do, but at least knowing how it works maybe opens up new fields of study and new ways that we could utilize this for potential gain.
Huh. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's cool just to know for sure what makes the Aurora Borealis. Like, regardless of all of the larger stuff that happens based on this,
right.
It's cool just to know why it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's cool to know that there are some Disney Imagineers right now figuring out how to bombard the atmosphere over Disneyland Resort with particles.
Can you imagine? On-demand Aurora Borealis? Yes.
Somebody's already working on it. Is it good? Is it right? Should it happen? We don't know. We don't know enough about it. But can we do it every night at 9 p.m.?
Every weeknight at 9 p.m.? Yeah.
That's great, man. This is fun. Like, both of these stories are fun for me because these are stories that are like, well, here's a question I asked once as a kid and then just put away as like, no one can tell me.
Yeah.
Well, fuck
and
you.
People figured
adults.
it out. People figured it out. Yeah, fuck you, adults.
Fuck you, adults. Somebody finally told me. You can't keep information from me. You can't make me go to bed early when there are people over.
You can't make me. Oh my God. Well, this is a story for another time. I was going to tell you about something my daughter did, but it's not for the show. It's
not for the show.
Nobody cares.
Hey,
nobody cares.
It's not for the show, but thank you for tuning in for things that were for the show.
I forgot we were on a show for a second. I was going to tell you a story from my life.
Hey, buddy.
I'll tell you that later.
No one cares about that bullshit.
No one cares about that bullshit. We got science and shit to talk about.
Thank you all for joining us for another week. Remember that if you want to send us stories like these to use on the show, you absolutely can. A great place to do that is, of course, on the Discord that we talked about earlier. You can also email them to us at wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. But I'll tell you what, that Discord's pretty good.
Pretty great. Great
you
folks
join
there. Join it up. Join it up.
Join it up at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. We'll see you next week. Okay, you can tell me the useless story, though.
Okay, so my daughter did this adorable thing.